Good evening. I'd like to thank Shares Magazine for giving Kennedy this opportunity, and Dan Coatsworth, the editor. This is a picture of a place in Namibia, which is where Kennedy Ventures operates. And on the right, for those of you who don't know what it is, that is Tantalite. And on the left are on the middle is some of our staff, and on the left some of them. And these are all live photographs, relatively live. Just swiftly on our board, I want to draw attention to two people. Renier Swagers is the General Manager of Operations of AFTAN, and he has overseen the complete upgrade of our mine in Namibia, and has considerable expertise, and he is a Namibian citizen, as is Caroline McLeod, who is our country representative for both Kennedy and AFTAN. She's a Namibian national. She's extremely closely linked to the liberation movement of Namibia, where her father played a very major role. With me this evening is Nick Harrison, who's a non-executive director of Kennedy. For those of you who don't know what Kennedy Ventures is, it's an investment company, and it focuses on Tantalite and Lithium in Namibia. We are one of the very few technology mineral companies on AIM, Tantalite and Lithium, and we actually produce now. We issued a statement today that our first shipment of 1.6 tons of Tantalite have been delivered to a single customer. So this is not a presentation leading to a fundraising. This is a business that anticipates being cash flow positive in the first half of 2017. And we see huge opportunities in our two minerals. And in case you want to know about dividends, I've got a serious holding in this company, and I think dividends are a good thing. We have two rare and exciting minerals. If I take Tantalite first, our business is set up originally to mine Tantalite, and the price of Tantalite has risen for $50 a pound in January to just under $70 today. Tantalite is used in tantalum capacitors. If any of you have got an iPhone or an iPad, you will know that a capacitor is an essential part of machinery like that. It is the most effective mineral for storing electronic information, and its capacitance properties, and I'll avoid most of the science, are relevant to the production of capacitor-grade material. Its length to width ratio of crystals is extremely relevant, and its chemical inertness makes it a substitute for platinum. It's very corrosion resistant. Furthermore, as is quite common in the United States, when a major piece of legislation is passed, amendments are added to it for people which people have held out for and able to get them to vote. And the Dodd-Frank Act, which you may remember was brought in following the crash of Lehman, and largely aimed at the financial services area, but it added a commitment on what are called blood minerals. The five of those that this was aimed at was gold, diamonds, tantalum, coltan, and cobalt, principally. And any American company or anybody wishing to sell products into the United States that contain tantalum has to have a certificate of origin produced by the person who dug it out of the ground. This is aimed at now at people in the DRC who are alleged to have been funding their armies by using children to dig up tantalite. Whether they have or they haven't, one thing is for certain: you have to have that certificate of origin, and that won't be going backwards. And for us in Namibia, that's a very valuable thing because we, of course, can do so with some ease. As far as lithium is concerned, I'm sure you're all familiar with the enormous recent demand for electric vehicles, the massive forecasts of growth for electric vehicles. I don't think there's a single manufacturer of motor cars who hasn't announced some plan or other, quite apart from Jaguar's demands from the British government in association with the government's intent and the government's recent intention of investing in the electrical car market. There's a very interesting study that was produced by Macquarie, which we have our hands on, which is a 200-page study largely driven to demonstrate the enormous excitement around 2 Australian stocks. But what it did state was an excellent analysis of why they expected a compound growth in the price of lithium and where the bottlenecks to supply would be. And certainly lithium has been very much a stellar performance in commodity markets. Off-contract sales have indeed reached $25,000 a tonne, but more relevantly, from your point of view, in considering this as company as an investment, contract prices around $11,000 a tonne. Now, we ourselves are close to production. We expect to be producing lithium for sale in 2017, and there isn't a single other London-quoted company who have that expectation. We can do this. Namibia is a politically stable and mining-friendly country. It's been independent since 1990. It's very sensibly run. Its principal industry is mining. It is the home of the vast uranium mine Rossing, which is Rio Tinto, and Anglo-American have some very substantial diamond mines. The fiscal terms are attractive, 5% royalties, 37.5% tax on profits, but full recovery of all capex. And Caroline is obviously extremely well connected in Namibia, and I'm very proud of the fact that we must be one of the very few companies quoted in London, let alone mining companies, who have a black woman on our board. And Renia Zwigers is very much a Namibian-rated expert with considerable experience. The Tantalite Valley mine is 15 kilometres north of the Orange River, which is the border on the south Namibian border with South Africa. We have all our environmental licenses in place. We get our water from artesian wells that supply us. We're 75 kilometres over a dirt road from a major international tarmac road, which is the main highway from Windhoek, the capital of Namibia, to Johannesburg. And we sell ex-Windhoek, and our costs to get to Windhoek are just over $1 a tonne. So we're in reasonable stage. Our full mining license area is 452 hectares, which for those of you who rather be in acres is about 1,175, and that is entirely the mineralized pegmatites of the valley. As a simple example, you can see here, and I hope to God I can use this properly, 1, 2, 3, 4 places where we can mine. We have barely scratched the surface of this entire area. Up there is a photograph, and you can see the pegmatite actually going through the hillside. It does that for about 4 miles. We know that the tantalite that we have so far discovered we expect at least a life of 20 years, but we actually haven't explored most of this area yet. So we don't have a JORC statement yet for the tantalite, and without being idiotic about it, the reason is quite simply that we didn't see the need to do it while we were actually getting ourselves going in terms of starting production. Now, Kennedy is, under AIM rules, an investment company, and it acquired 75% of Aftan, which is a Namibian business. We bought this from an Australian company. It actually had an existing mine on the site, but had failed to mine it for some period of time, owing to some very major commercial problems in other areas of their business. The site, therefore, has about $10 million worth of buildings, including staff quarters, management quarters, an explosives magazine. So it has a lot going for it in terms of the cost savings. We raised £2 million in July 2016, and with the intention of exploiting the lithium as much as the tantalite. Clearly, the costs of our operation, we're spending the money on the tantalite anyway. The one thing we need to do to really expand on lithium is to build a road in those areas I've just shown you so we can reach it more easily. The plant upgrade program, which is all of this, has now been completed very satisfactorily. Final installation in phase 4 having been completed. We're now installing spirals, which are actually on site, and they're being installed. And then that will enable us to install a flotation circuit for the lithium ores. We're acquiring a second-hand tank in order to extract the mica. That's going to cost us less than $50,000. And we expect it to be cash flow positive, as I've said, when we have launched all of this. So we're in excellent shape, and our first shipment to our customer has been delivered. And our customer is a New York Stock Exchange quoted company. The key benefits of the upgraded plant are out in this, and I assume all of you can read what's up here, because I think I'd rather give you some further information. The point about this company is the speed with which we've been able to get to market, because everything was in place that we needed to have, with the exception of certain mining equipment. But we didn't have to build roads, we didn't have to build buildings, we didn't have to. What we have had to do is to train our African staff and to make sure they're fit for purpose. And I don't mean that in any rude fashion at all. We're in a very poor area of Namibia. The village near it, the little village by us called Vombad, which is 37 kilometers from the site, where our mining staff have largely come from. When we went there, 73 of the 1,115 adults capable of employment were in employment. So they were the candidates were all very malnourished and needed, to be perfectly fair, to be given the chance to get adequately fit and well to carry out mining. And that's taken us a number of months, but I'm absolutely certain that the investment has been well worth our time. And it's certainly, working with the local community, the fact that we did that, and with the 3 churches that are in the little town, has been immensely beneficial. And it won't surprise those of you who know some of my other business activities that there is a cricket pitch in Vombad. Whether they're any good remains to be seen. Now, the lithium opportunity. We have so far an estimate of 140,000 tons in one seam. There are other potential for several-fold increase along the strike and down dip. The ore is near the surface, and rather incompetent photography, which is not me, because the worst photographs are taken by me, demonstrates that we are not going down miles and miles and miles. This is about blowing up the side of the hill and then taking the ore out. We intend to be in a position to remove the mica to create lithium concentrate, which we expect to be able to sell this year, and we then intend to move to producing lithium carbonate. We believe that we will be able to do that utilizing the cash flow from our tantalum activities, and we are in the process of designing an appropriate machinery for all of that, but the processing plant is now a very long way down the road. We will be doing a JORC resource statement on the lithium in the first half. We'll produce that in the first half of 2017. There may be some tantalite numbers that come out of that, but the sheer size of the tantalum reserves is such that we felt it would make more sense to make it pretty clear what we thought about the lithium, because we see, as I've said, at least 20 years of tantalite without a doubt. In terms of the further opportunities that exist for Kennedy, we are looking in Namibia for tantalite, and there is some lithium elsewhere. And we're also looking in Mozambique for tantalite. There are a number of opportunities. Mozambique has an added complexity, because the tantalite in Mozambique is actually radioactive and therefore has to be treated prior to utilization. There are some quite interesting opportunities in terms of the technology for that, and in terms of creating and making high purity tantalite, which commands a very high price. But we've got a long way to go before we'll be doing that. So if I may summarize, and I hope you've found some of this of interesting, this is a company which will be producing a lot of news flow in 2017. It's a very serious investment. We see the rarity of a small business which is going to be cash flow positive. There'll be a great deal of action and it is well positioned to take advantage of the growing tantalite market as much as it is the evolving lithium market. And the combination of the two minerals in essentially the same size workforce, we need it for both, all the equipment that we have there, the machinery and the housing and everything else, I think it's going to make it an immensely efficient plant. And as I say, the upgrades to produce lithium carbonate we intend to fund through cash flow. The presentation I've just given with some appendices is on the Kennedy Ventures website, and I hope that you found that vaguely interesting. I'd be delighted to answer any questions on Kennedy. I must apologise, I won't be here for the drinks and canapes afterwards because I have to go to a dinner for another of my activities. But I am very grateful that Gordon Poole and Billy Clegg of Camarco are here. They'll be happy to take anybody's name who has further questions that we don't manage to answer this evening. But if I can put it out to you, ladies and gentlemen, I'll do my best.
Questions, anybody then? Gentlemen, just down here.
I take your point I take your point that the business is likely to be cash flow positive fairly shortly. Are you going to need more money in terms of investment? Are you going to need to raise more money in, say, the next 2 years in terms of the further developments you've talked about?
Not of this mine, no. No, and we're not going to go rushing off buying other mines until we've established exactly what our lithium opportunity is, as well as our tantalite opportunity, and we've utilised the cash flow to establish the lithium opportunity properly alongside the tantalite opportunity.
Okay, and can I just ask one other question? Some of the RNSs were a little confusing. So in September, it said, I think it was that you would be building out 15,000 tonnes production in Q2 2017.
Yeah,
and then in October,
changed.
it said it would be done next week.
Well,
so I just
what the point is, the kit is capable of producing 15,000 tonnes right, a month, but we needed to complete certain arrangements and bringing in the spirals so that we could actually do so on a consistent basis rather than having one go and then finding we might have had a potential issue. So following the situation is exactly as we announced today. We expect to be at 15,000 tonnes.
By Q2 2017?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very interesting presentation. Could you tell us something about who owns the shares in Kennedy Ventures and what interest the management have got in those shares?
Well, I've got at least 10%, if not more, because I'm not quite sure what I hold, because I have various different companies. But whatever's declared in the public statements, my holding is correct. Otherwise, and wherever Nick is, he's got some shares as well. he's got a declarable interest as well. And other than that, we've done placing with primarily small institutions and some and private investors. But that's kind of the summary. So rest assured, sir, I've put some cash into this puppy.
So there's nobody controlling 50%?
No one controls 50%.
Gentlemen, just tackle. Gentlemen just here and then.
Could I just ask, what's your current market cap?
I think somewhere around 10 million.
And how much money have you sunk in terms of the capital investment to build out the processing plant?
Well, we raised £2 million.
I think on the slides it said that investment was already done.
No, we raised, I think, it was $1.5 million. So I think we're at about just under 3 million that we've spent. But that also included a certain amount of work we had to do to the road and clearing it up because it had been abandoned for 8 years.
And I did have one tantalum investment in the past, an event, unfortunately. It wasn't a success story.
Well, I wasn't in charge.
Yeah, I blame myself, I think. But I know that they spent 30 million in their processing plant unsuccessfully. So I was just wondering why there's such a big difference in how much you've had to invest.
We acquired an asset that already had about $10 million of investment in essential equipment. You need an explosives magazine. This is an outstanding explosives magazine. You need accommodation, dormitories for your workforce. You need offices. You need sheds. You need tractors. You need bunches of other things. So we were in reasonable shape there. What we've had to do, as you might imagine, a mine's been abandoned, admittedly in a very dry climate, where the buildings have not deteriorated because of the very small amount of rain. But we've obviously had to buy a whole load of new compressors, kit, etc., just to get started. But as I've said, we're not intending to ask for any more money to get this. We're in production, we're shipping product, and we expect to be cash flow positive very shortly.
Thank you for the great presentation. I had a couple of questions on tantalum. So what is tantalum sell for, and what are the revenue or cash flow forecasts for the next year or so?
Sorry, could you say that again?
So the first question was, what does tantalum sell for? What's the market price per ton? And then
I did say it's currently around just under $70 a pound.
And
it was $50 a pound in January.
And what are the revenue forecasts based on?
The company's not made any forecasts.
Okay.
The company is merely saying what it's producing, and we're leaving you to do the maths.
And is there any outstanding debt?
No, there is no debt in this company at all.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any existing offtake agreements in place?
We have an offtake arrangement with a New York Stock Exchange quoted company, but we actually have substantial interest because the production of tantalite in southern Africa is immense. Central and southern Africa has been so varied and unpredictable. There are very few constant operators. The mines in Zimbabwe have promised a great deal and delivered very, very little, as you may know. The issues in Mozambique I have referred to. So our plan is to demonstrate that we are a reliable, solid producer so that we can have reliable, solid customers. That's the idea. And I think we've got every chance of that. I mean, the people we're dealing with are very serious.
You own 75% of the mine. Who owns the other 25%? Can you buy that?
Yes. And yes is the answer to your second question. The first is it's local people. And they would very much, I'm sure, like to be part of a London company. But that is part of the Namibian government's plans for enriching the local populace, rather similar to the BBEE in South Africa. But it's nothing like as complex as that.
But they wouldn't object to you taking over that 25%?
I don't think they would, no. I think they're all hoping that they can hang on and make a great deal of money. Not that they understand the marketplace, but they understand that we're digging things out of the ground and somebody's buying it. So.
Are they a full 25% shareholder, or do they get involved in the fundraising, or are they excluded from the fundraising?
No, the fundraiser was in Kennedy, not in Aftan. But Kennedy is an investment company, so it needs to maintain its investment status on AIM. It wouldn't be wise for Kennedy to lose that status, so we look at it as an investment, in case you're my regulator.
So do I gather your own investment is the 75%
Correct.
shareholding?
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, anybody? Gentleman down here at the front.
How much did you pay for your 75% in After?
We paid 8 million rand for that. And then, was it 5 million, 15? 15 million in total. 15 in total, but 8 million and then 7 million. Yeah.
The other question I have for you with regards to lithium, as you realize with what happened, the debacle with Samsung Note 7 and stuff, the market is moving away from lithium to sulfur because it's more dense in terms of holding a charge and also less corrosive in terms of explosive. Have you actually looked at the sulfur production?
No, because we're still in the stages of studying what we're producing. We have a lepidolite, as I've said, a lepidolite seam. That's why we want to see what we're producing and what we need to do to make it, particularly if we produce concentrate.
time for any more questions. Anybody else? Lady down here, second row.
It's just a simple question about the politics in the country that you're actually mining in. In other countries like South Africa, there's things going on there. And obviously Tanzania is very slow when you're trying to get your mining and everything together. What's it like in Namibia?
It's excellent, as I've said. Caroline McLeod looks after that for us. We have an agreement with the Namibian Union of Miners. Our agreement, which has been also entered into, the other party of the agreement is the government. We therefore have an agreement. We can work 24/7 at the mine. In fact, we work 3 weeks on, 1 week off, to enable Mr. Swigers to have a holiday for a bit. But Namibia is very constructive, very pro the mining industry. And as I've said, in the area where we are, we have actually, we've doubled the number of people actually in employment, but since then a whole load of small businesses have emerged in Warmbad, because the miners have to go to Karasbad to be paid, because legally we must pay them into a bank account. Then they have to make sure that they then get the money and then go back home and don't stay in the shebeen in Karasbad, which is extremely important in my view. So the bus that takes them to get their money also takes them back to Warmbad, and they have to get on the bus. After that, once they're back there, they're on their own. But actually the ladies of the family stand there waiting to take the money off them at the bus stop. You may have seen it before. And they're quite right.
Question, everyone's got a question.
No? Just wondering about the licenses. So do you own them for a certain period of time?
No, we have a right to mine for 25 years in the area. And it's renewable. But we have all our environmental licenses, all our water permits. We do not need anything further.
Giles, thank you very much indeed. Thank
Not
you.
at all.